Hey guys, and welcome to this video where I quickly go through the 3 decks I brought to the monthly cup. We will also do a short meta overview for 5 others very strong decks that I considered bringing to the monthly cup. And we're going to start with the blue list. I think that's the strongest deck in the meta right now. This version is built to be super consistent. The only two choices that I wasn't sure until the end is if I run Herald and Shell, or instead go for Warriors, Triton Warriors. Triton Warriors is very nice if you want to be stronger against yellow, and having another jump creature can be nice against blue, especially if you buff it to a 6/6 with the trainer. But I wanted to be a blue list because it's my first one that is stronger in all matchups, and Herald and Shell really help against red matchups and also decent against green, I would say. I think this is the best blue version you can build, and I managed to get, when I first started playing this on ladder, not many people back then were playing blue jump. I managed to get 1850 on 2 accounts, and I went on a 20+ win streak without losing a game. So this list is very strong if you want to play on ladder right now. And yeah, I choose blue as my first deck because there aren't really that bad matchups except red. And I wasn't thinking that someone, if he brings red as a counter to blue, I wasn't thinking that someone opens with red as counter, because red has some other weak matchups. And yeah, that's why I also brought red. Some people, the only consideration instead of red for me was to go for green-red. Green-red, however, didn't feel like a counter enough to blue as much as I wanted it. And this list is also very good against yellow. You can run a third. My teammates ran third AoE. I think except that they ran the same list. The underground bosses are interesting. Hasn't been seen played that much, but it's very good if you can just sit back and your opponent has to fight them. But on the same hand, he can't play more creatures because he has always to be afraid of AoE. And yeah, you need more than just brigands for having more consistency with your Gift of Steel. So only brigands wouldn't justify running Gift of Steel. I think boss is just very nice. It's kind of sucks when your opponent, if it's blue, has Ninja Toad that's buffed as a 5/4. But then again, you have Ground Shaker, so it's not that much of a problem. You have Cypher's Wrath. If you want, you can include one Derelict Tower instead of a Horse Master. But I really like giving mobility to my boss, to my Cypher, and to my Brigand. The rest are just the tier 1 red card, so not much to say about that. This deck is also capable of beating green decks. You can play it kind of mid-range style if you have to, but you can also go for the control game. So yeah, I went for a counter list to blue and maybe yellow that's also versatile and can maybe get me 3 wins in a series. And then finally the yellow deck. This is a very important list for my lineup because it helps me with the other matchups that I'm weak against. So mainly with Burn. This is a very good list against Burn. It doesn't look so at the first sight because you run Shaden Demons, but the tempo you get with the Shaden Demons and the super high mobility is just insane in this list. It also was very good against green-red, and yeah, the plan was if I don't have to counter a blue or a yellow deck with red, I went basically for this list because it has basically no bad matchup, and it's built around having Kalim in the opening hand, so that's why I run Time of Legends. So we have twice the chance to get that, because Kalim opening is just insane. If you have triple Fanatic, triple Flash Wind, so much mobility also helps the demon to get in a more aggressive position. So you can play them at your well, especially if you go second with the Explorer card, you can actually use them as a turn 2 harvesting creature. Other than that, of course, you want Outland Ranger starting hand, Windstorm Charger, and then of course Kaleem. For consistency issues, again, I ran only 2 Windstorm Colossus. If you run a version with Soul Pacts and other cheap events, you can go for free, but yeah, this is just a early game super high tempo list, and it worked really well for me. So yeah, that was my lineup. I considered many other deck lineups. So this was the only yellow list I would have brought. I didn't find any yellow list that was really working well for me. The Sagittarius list you couldn't run because you get, or Archer list, you get countered by blue jumpers. Then, and that's why the Shaitan Demon is so good. You can just drop him and he has to deal with it. He can't just Ninja Toad it and the Ninja Toad survives. This is just a cheap cost creature. That's a big problem for your opponent. So instead of this spot, we considered also a sacrifice deck, because sacrifice doesn't take away from blue or red. Basically here just the general sacrifice deck that I've always been playing. Now just Sagami Grovecaller is just better than Oradrim Fanatics. It's a better mobility choice, I would say. Other than that, nothing special. Shaitan Assassins are very annoying to deal with, super defensive creature, and this list is actually decent against blue as well. A lineup I really would have liked to play would have involved red, yellow, burn. So that's just a combat mobility red, yellow, burn list. The problem was I would have to use Flashwind and Training, and I really needed these in my yellow deck, and I think the yellow deck overall is stronger than the red, yellow, burn. It just has better matchups overall, and if I choose the red, yellow, burn, of course couldn't also bring my red deck. The interesting thing is this deck actually we built very late, like I think 1 or 2 days before the tournament. It's just a mid-range green-blue enchantment deck, and it's a really cool deck. It's the mobility you have in this list are Sunken Towers and Grovecallers. That's basically enough, and it's super stat efficient. Like you can enchant Willows, then Heralds are cheap. You have so many good Feed the Forest targets. We only run 2, but shell openings. This is a very solid list, but we didn't have enough practice, and I didn't really know which list to cut. And in general, I really like, if you don't have super high tempo mobility deck like this blue one, you want decks with removal from hand, because it's just so much easier to deal with creatures. If you have decks like mono green, which was also a consideration, you will always have the problem that your opponent has the initiative with removal from hand, or maybe has more mobility like blue and just double collects and your creatures sit there and you can't do anything. However, this deck is very strong, and I think it did pretty well for others in the tournament. Not sure if you really want Oak Fathers. That's just maybe a bit outdated version, but still that's probably very similar to what the Voice of Truth deck should look like. Then green red, of course. If I ran green red, I would probably have brought it as your first deck. This version is tuned to be good against blue. I didn't have enough success with it on ladder that I thought it was strong counter enough to beat blue, and if I started with this deck, I would have had big problems if I lost the game against the blue deck. Still, my yellow deck was decent against blue, but I wanted to have the safety of having the red deck where I can say I beat blue like 80, maybe even 90% of the time. So yeah, that was the overview. I hope I don't miss any decks. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.